Hey, I'm Kenneth Wajda. I'm a professional photographer here in Colorado. Welcome to another one of my weekly photo chats. Starting this week, I'm going to be alternating on Wednesdays between Leica talks and personal experience with gear because I'm running out of things to talk about on each of those. I need your suggestions. And I really have been talking about so many of my Nikon cameras and Leicas, and I feel like I don't want to just repeat myself. So I'll alternate and I'll bring out some of the medium format stuff and some of the cameras I don't use so much and talk about those too. So going forward, the show will be on Wednesdays and Saturdays, so twice a week. Because also work is starting to pick up again. That's a good thing as a working photographer, and I want to deliver quality, not just quantity. And I was boosting the quantity based on the fact I was home so much during COVID. But now I'm getting out more to more shoots. So I'll be doing the Wednesday and Saturday schedule. So today I'm going to talk about real world use of a gear. This is that D610 that I use for so many things. But I just did a portrait shoot today, a headshot shoot, with this 50mm f1.4 D lens. This is not the latest lens. This is a D lens, which means that it's got a worm drive motor or some kind of a screw drive motor that fixes the autofocus, so it's not very quick. And it's got an actual aperture ring, which I think I just locked. But the idea is that you have complete control over this lens with an aperture ring. But because it's not the latest and the greatest, it's not the most expensive. It's a 51.4, so plenty fast. And it's one of those things where I use this for a portrait shoot today. It nails focus. It focuses right on an eye, and I can really make this work. And I'll put a link to that portrait session and the proofs that I sent to the woman who hired me. And I'm just so enamored when I see people saying about how they need to get the latest Zeiss 50 or, some lens that costs an awful lot of money. And this is this may not even be a D. It just says AF Nikkor 50mm 1.4. This might even be the autofocus that preceded the actual D lens, which they actually labeled D. It works great. And surprisingly, I have a filter on it. I don't usually have filters on lenses. But I want to talk about how when you're looking for gear, see what are some of the better choices in the things that are just a little bit older. Because you can find some deals on things like this. I think this lens came with a camera, maybe an f100. So it was one of those lenses that somebody didn't want, and it was just packaged with that camera. And I like using it on the f100 too. But this was a digital shoot for this headshot shoot. I shot it right here. I added the Chimera light that I have. And it's a beautiful setup. Simple lighting, a nice outdoor studio with a little bit of light control with the Chimera, and then that 51.4. And I didn't shoot it wide open. I shot it at 2.8 and 3.2 about. And I think that's important too. It's not like just because you have 1.4, you have to always use it at 1.4. But I think this is a great bargain lens. This is a great deal if you're looking for a fast 50, 35-1.4 and an 85-1.4. They're pricey lenses, but the 50-1.4 you can get, and it's a bargain. All right, that's today's photography talk. If you're enjoying these, hit the subscribe button. Do you have any experience with one of these? I welcome your comments. I'll be back next week. We'll talk more photography. Next week we'll talk about Leicas, and the following week we'll talk more about gear that I use. And tune in Saturday. That's always going to be a roving collection of different kinds of topics. All right. If you can hit the subscribe button if you are enjoying these, hit the Patreon if you can support. Thanks to all my supporters. I have wonderful supporters, and I really appreciate you. And I'll be back next week. Here's the good light.